Turns out we've already got more than 100,000 contractors there. Yeah, U.S. Central Command telling Talking Points memo that the number of contractors in Afghanistan is 104,000 now, and that number has grown by 30,000 just in the past 6 months. And the number of contractors is only expected to grow further along with the new troop increase. The last time we paid a lot of attention to contractors in Afghanistan, some of them were doing vodka shots in places. Embarrassing the country and themselves and making us wonder all over again why it is that we pay people like this to go to our embassy instead of our own troops. Here's a new reason to wonder. Some pretty stunning revelations about the most notorious defense contractor of them all, Blackwater, and its founder, Erik Prince. A new article in Vanity Fair by Adam Soralski, which we've linked at our website, says this about conservative billionaire Erik Prince. Quote, "For the past 6 years, he appears to have led an astonishing double life. Publicly, he has served as Blackwater's CEO and chairman. Privately and secretly, he's been doing the CIA's bidding, helping to craft, fund, and execute operations ranging from inserting personnel into denied areas, places U.S. intelligence has trouble penetrating, to assembling hit teams targeting al-Qaeda members and their allies. Erik Prince, according to sources with knowledge of his activities, has been working as a CIA asset. In a word, as a spy. It's not just that Blackwater has been working for the CIA. The allegation is that Erik Prince personally has been working for the CIA. The CIA assassination squads we heard so much about this summer when it was revealed that the CIA had kept them secret from Congress, apparently they trained at Erik Prince's house. Joining us now is Jeremy Scahill, reporter for The Nation, whose cover story in this week's Nation magazine is on Blackwater. It's called The Secret U.S. War in Pakistan. U.S. Special Forces enlist Blackwater's help on covert operations. Jeremy, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
What is important about Erik Prince personally being a spy and admitting to it now beyond what we already know about what his company does?
Well, I have to say on the onset, I see this sort of as Erik Prince taking out an insurance policy for himself and talking to a guy who served Adam Soralski as a CIA lawyer. He's a trusted guy. Erik Prince is in the crosshairs now of the Congress, of federal investigators and others, and by sort of preempting what he thinks is going to be a sort of barrage of attacks against him by essentially outing CIA operations himself and then crying that he's like Valerie Plame. It's a way of trying to insulate himself from future attacks. What's significant about this is that Erik Prince actually tried to join the CIA, and my sources tell me that he failed the polygraph test. Not that he didn't have enough experience, which is what he says in this piece, but that he actually couldn't pass the polygraph. And so there was an alternative arrangement made with Prince where he not only, as you say, was sort of running a sort of private war, sometimes with the CIA, sometimes with the Special Forces, sometimes freelance, but he himself also was an asset of the CIA. Him coming forward now, I think, is significant, but I also think we have to realize he's a smart political guy, too. He knows what he's doing.
In the Vanity Fair piece, Erik Prince says that it is one of Blackwater's bases in Afghanistan that is the closest forward operating base to Pakistan. In The Nation, you are reporting that despite the company's denials, Blackwater totally is operating in Pakistan itself right now. What are you able to report that they're doing there?
For years, Blackwater has been operating under the cover of a training program. We heard a lot about training from the president since his plan was addressed. Blackwater is training the Pakistani Frontier Corps, which is a federal paramilitary force that is hunting down high-value targets in the frontier province. A former Blackwater executive told me that the line is being crossed, that Blackwater guys are actually going out on these raids. Parallel to that, Blackwater is at the center of a U.S. Special Forces, not CIA, but U.S. Special Forces drone bombing campaign inside of Afghanistan. They are also helping to plan targeted assassinations, snatch and grab operations, not just in Pakistan, Rachel, but also against the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, inside of Uzbekistan as well.
Okay, so this is a huge deal, because in terms of learning about what we're doing with the drones, what we've been able to say up until this point is, yeah, the military uses drones. The military uses drones in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. They use them for surveillance. They use them sometimes for bombing. If there are drone attacks in Pakistan, those are not U.S. military. That's the CIA. That's why we never comment on them. You're saying that's not true. It's contractors, but they are also working with the U.S. military, secret elements of the U.S. military.
I have multiple sources on this, including a very well well-placed military intelligence source, and part of the reason why the military intelligence source is speaking to me is because he is offended at the idea that you have these operations happening outside of the military chain of command and with no oversight from the Congress, and says that some of the highest civilian casualty attacks from the drones are not in fact CIA attacks, but are military attacks because, as he put it, they simply don't care. There's no oversight. If there's one bad guy in a building and 34 civilians, 35 people are going to die that day.
I want to read you something from the New York Times website. This was just posted, a new article by Scott Shane. It's titled, CIA Expanding Drone Assaults Inside Pakistan. Shane says the White House has authorized an expansion of the CIA's drone program in Pakistan's lawless tribal area to parallel the president's decision to send 30,000 more troops to Afghanistan. American officials talking with Pakistan about the possibility of striking in one province they've never apparently done drone strikes in before, Baluchistan, a controversial move because it's outside the tribal areas. They say that's where they believe Afghan Taliban leaders are believed to hide. Right. What do you think the significance is?
I think we need to view this sober reality. The war is in Pakistan right now. There's no question about it. The question, though, is how much it's going to expand. Are we going to see an expansion of actual covert operations teams alongside the drones? This is, I think, a very disturbing aspect of what we're seeing unfold right now, because these are actions that are going to destabilize Pakistan and are going to create new enemies for the United States because of the high civilian casualties that they'll bring on.
It may be something that the United States that may be a risk the United States is willing to incur in order to reap whatever military anti-terrorist benefit we think we can. It is complicated by the fact that because these are covert operations, we're not willing to explain what it is that we're doing, and it creates a complete chasm of credibility between us and Pakistan.
Well, it also raises the prospect of not the clandestine operations of the CIA, and the Pakistanis have long known that the CIA was doing it, but here you have military operations inside of a country that we don't have a declaration of war against.
Jeremy Scahill of The Nation. The cover story right now is on Blackwater. It's called The Secret U.S. War in Pakistan. U.S. Special Forces enlist Blackwater's help on covert operations. It's great to have you on the show. Thanks for sharing your insight with us.
Thank you, Rachel.